Hey there, this is Emma with Gray Area. Welcome to our new series, Spotlight, where our mission is to build a bigger and more united house music community by sharing new and exciting artists, festivals, and event brands with you. In this interview, you'll hear from Ed, a talented rising house artist who is the resident DJ at District in Malta. He has an incredible story and a really uplifting sound that we think you guys will enjoy. Be sure to like this video and subscribe for more videos like this.
Hey everyone, this is Jonah from Gray Area, introducing a new series today where we're focusing on the rising stars out of Europe in the house and electronic scene. I'm joined here today by Ed, coming right out of Malta. Ed, we got a lot of questions for you, but one of the things I like to do when I get started interviewing DJs is kind of talk about the early days. I think you had your first kind of official release in 2019. So obviously, you're new to the scene, but I think it's safe to say you probably didn't start DJing in 2019. So, tell us about, how you got into it and kind of what that grind was like before you started putting music out.
Well, I've been surrounded by music like all my life. From a young age, all of my family listen to quite diverse styles of music. So I was always exposed to quite a wide range of music. And I started playing the guitar at about the age of 7, and slowly I just became really interested in music and started playing the piano and drums and the bass and just experimenting and learning basically off of YouTube, everything. And then slowly I just started to get into producing music. And I used to make hip hop initially. I used to make some EDM, never signing with a label. I didn't even know what a label was back then. I didn't know that existed, that whole concept. I had nothing. I just used to put them up on SoundCloud. I'd get 10 views. I'd be really happy with it. And it was funny, man. And then slowly, I remember just a couple of friends of mine used to DJ, older friends of mine. I used to hang around with them. I say, I could probably do this, I used to think. And my father had bought me a DJ console. I was young, I was 14, 15, a Tractor S2. I'm not sure if you know what it is.
Oh, I got the S4 right here.
Was one of those. And I just started DJing at home. And my mother didn't let me play at birthday parties. She didn't want me to play. I was quite young. But I kept doing it, and slowly I started to then, I got some friends who used to actually DJ at clubs, and they got me some gigs here and there. And that's when I started to also produce house music as well. And I completely just fell in love with the scene as a whole, the diverse, the range of music you find. You can find someone like Follamore and someone like Jamie Jones playing at the same festival. I love that concept personally, just hearing loads of different styles of music at the same place. Obviously, even locally, the scene then started to get involved a bit.
That's awesome, man. Well, I appreciate that you mentioned the scene, because that's kind of what I want to get into next. As I mentioned before we started, one of the things we're going on in this series about is trying to give, our North American audience a bit of an education on, how deep the scene is in Europe. And I think for, your average American, we're aware of Ibiza and, people know oh yeah, there's techno in Berlin maybe, but I think past that, there's not a lot of knowledge on it. You're from Malta. That's where you're based out of.
Yep.
I know a lot of my friends might think of Malta as the place where they film Game of Thrones. I know when I went to Malta, we literally went on a Game of Thrones tour, and I was just this place is, this place is crazy. What's going on here? I was on resident advisor, trying to find the parties. So, the first thing I want to get into is just if you can tell me about, what's that scene like locally for you? How'd you break through there? And, what it's like kind of being a resident in a smaller community, but with a vibrant scene.
That's a great question. I think as in Malta, I think the scene is constantly improving, especially over the last maybe 5 years. It's really become more professional here. The clubs have become way better slowly. For me as a DJ, I broke through just you're speaking to people. Like I remember I was playing at a beach club, and one of the organizers of the place I'm resident now, District, was there. Heard that I used to DJ just at like parties, like house parties and things like that. And he had been playing there, and he had asked me, "You want to come and play a set for us at District?" And like I was on it. I was like, what? In fact, like after he told me like he was gonna pay me for like me playing that set, and I had never been paid back then. Like, and he told me, maybe if you can play for us more often, we'll pay you, like, and you can DJ at good slots. And I told him, I would pay you to play at the good slots. I told him, like it had nothing to do with money. I just loved it. And that's how I started. And then with District, I think District is it's one of the biggest like house music parties in Malta. Like it takes place at Uno Main Room, which is quite at Uno Main Room at Tree House, which is like they're both quite big clubs. And every week we have quite a good attendance, and like it's a real fun place, and it's an extremely challenging place to play as a DJ, as a resident, because I always feel like I have to like try raise the bar a bit to compete with myself, but also the other residents, sort of like healthy competition between us. We all want to really push it, the sound, like it's so much fun. I love it.
Do you think, is it mostly a tech house sound in Malta, or do you find people are kind of playing all over the map?
I wouldn't say tech house is very big in Malta, and that's something I'd really like to try and build personally here. Try and like get people interested in this, like in tech house a bit. But I'd say mostly in Malta it's like vocal house, and there's quite a big melodic house scene here, especially. But that's not what we play at District. We play at District's more of like funky vibes, like it's real fun type of that. We don't go to techno too much, but it might verge over there. But it's mainly like vocal house. It's a bit disco-y, it's funky, it's so much fun. It's a very groovy party.
Yeah. Well, I think it's interesting, as you just said, it's like even a place like Malta that is, smaller than a lot of other countries in Europe, you have kind of different sounds. From a broader perspective, are there places outside of Malta in Europe that, you've been to or you want to go to that you feel like have influenced your perspective on electronic music, and kind of a follow-up on that? Are there any like under the radar spots that you think people, Americans like me in Europe, might not know about?
Personally, I haven't traveled. I haven't traveled too much for clubbing yet. I'm still quite young. I was 20. I'm 20 at the moment. So I managed to go once before COVID to EDD in Amsterdam, and that was like that. Like as you said, it completely changed my perspective on everything. It motivated me so much more just to be there and see these people. It's such a good vibe, ED, in the whole, like in all of Amsterdam. Wherever you go, there are so many people like there because of the conference. So it's just so much fun. That.
Who did you see there? That was really putting you on.
We went on Thursday. We went to PIV, the label. It's a fantastic label and a brilliant party. It was real fun. And then the second day we went to Paradise. There was Jamie Jones, back-to-back Martin Carola. It was fantastic. And then we went to Circo Loco the day after.
Oh.
Yeah, it was fun. Long 3 days. Yeah, that was amazing though.
Wow. Well, I guess then the follow-up question is, you had that opportunity and it's obviously a great exposure. Are there places that you're dying to get to in Europe? And then alongside that, obviously the legendary clubs and festivals that are going on all year round in normal times. Do you have like a wish list of some of those that you'd love to play at?
I mean, I'd love to play anywhere. That's the thing. I'd love to play anywhere. At this point, especially COVID, I haven't DJed in ages. I'd play anywhere. But if I really think the scene obviously in Ibiza, it's fantastic. If you're getting known in Ibiza, it really does mean something, like something special, I feel. But I really enjoyed being in Amsterdam, for example. I love that tech. It's from what I understood, it's very tech housey there, minimal tech house. It's quite a big scene over there. So I love being there. But I mean, the Italian sound is quite amazing as well when you go into like the tech house style of it. I love that. Anyway, in England, you've got a bit more disco. I just love I don't know. I really appreciate everything. I don't know how to say it.
No, I know what you mean, man. Your energy for it is on top, and I get that. It's like once you kind of, I know for me, I was mostly into kind of the more like mainstream vocal EDM stuff as you were describing, and I remember when I was about 18 or 19 having the opportunity to see Carl Cox, and it totally changed everything. I'd like never even heard that kind of music before, and you go hear that, and you're just like, wow, the realm of possibility and what somebody can like create up on the stage, it totally changes. Well, I guess, that is a good transition into the next thing I want to talk about, which is, your sound. I was obviously listening to all the stuff you've put out, and then had the opportunity to listen to, your upcoming EP on Trick label. And it's really awesome stuff, man. But I'm just curious because I was listening to some of the stuff you've already released, and as you're describing the sound of Malta, it makes sense to me even more. I can hear it in your music. It's kind of upbeat, light, airy, funky. And then I was listening to the Trick EP, and I was like, oh, this goes a little harder. Tell us about that. How would you, describe your sound, and, what direction are you trying to go in with this EP?
Look, I don't know if you had my track Sola.
Yeah.
Like, I'd say that is a really big sound in Malta. That disco-y sort of trumpets. It's loved in Malta. That was a real song and like it did quite well in Malta. That song, like with my group of friends and District. That's a song that I feel really would describe District quite well. That style. But yeah, as in, you have to think about this as well with this new release, with this release coming out on Trick. All those tracks were made during quarantine. And I think I made, the first one was Neon Tokyo, and I made Neon Tokyo in May of last year. So it was quite deep into the quarantine, so I hadn't been going out for quite a while. And all I had been seeing are like these videos, like going back and seeing YouTube videos of other DJs playing. So yeah, like I haven't been influenced by the Maltese sound in a long time. You know what I mean? And I've just been getting my inspiration from like videos of watching these amazing DJs play elsewhere, So that, I mean, there is an element of that Maltese vibe definitely in Neon Tokyo, but I don't see the other two being, fitting of that vibe. It's more of, it was a different direction, I guess.
Yeah, no, that's really interesting you said that. I think it's something that a lot of artists have been experiencing right now, even as I'm sure, as a resident, you can relate to. It's like you don't have the opportunity to crowd test something. So when you were working on this EP, I'm curious, like, did you find yourself kind of like going through it a lot, making different versions? Like, who were you going to for feedback on it?
Actually, it's quite the opposite. I've been making like so many tracks throughout COVID, and looking back, like COVID for me was a blessing in disguise in a way, because like compared to the things that I was making pre-COVID, which I thought were really good, like I wouldn't play them in a million years now. I wouldn't send them out in a million years now. So that, like, it really made me sit down and just focus everything. Like I didn't have to search for tracks anymore. I only did it when I wanted to, like, search for tracks. So it really did change everything for me. COVID made me want to take music so much more seriously as well. It just changed me that. But I mean, yes, you find yourself at times, as you were saying, struggling sort of to keep that motivation, sort of, because you'll be making, for example, 7 tracks in 10 days, for example, in my case, and you get no feedback, or you get like from 2 friends, Like I always send to Nick and to a friend of mine, AP, who's another DJ who plays with us at District. And just sort of like, okay, what's the point? At that point, I didn't have any releases coming up. I was making loads of tracks and absolutely nothing coming out of them. But at the end of the day, I don't know, I always find myself coming back to the studio and making music just because I feel like I have a PlayStation here and all that. I never touch it. I always come and just open Fruity Loops and machine and just, that's what I feel comfortable and also what I enjoy doing, really.
That's awesome, man. No, I think, I mean, the fact that, you know, your sound changed from, as you said, it's like, I'm sure as a resident, you know, a big part of your week is like, all right, my set has to be different than last time. It's how long am I playing? How much new music do I need to find? And, you know, you really get to kind of hone in on your production craft in this time. Do you feel like kind of the direction that you went in this EP is where you'd like to go going forward? Or do you see yourself kind of continuing to switch it up?
That's exactly it, to be honest. I just see myself switching it up as much as I can. Like, in like a span of a week, I could be working on a tech house track, a techno, and like a disco vibe. I don't know. It just always depends on what I'll be listening to. Depends on what I feel like making. You know, I didn't make this EP as an EP. They were just random tracks which I made throughout maybe the first 6 months of quarantine, which I had sent and then to Patrick.
So that's kind of what I want to get into next. You know, we obviously mentioned Trick Label for the viewers that don't know. It's a label that's run by Patrick Topping. I don't know how often, you know, resident DJs in Malta are getting signed onto by Patrick Topping, but, you know, this is no small feat. So
thank you, man.
You know, what was it that, like, was there a connection there? Did you just send music to him on a whim? You know, tell us about connecting and what that meant to you.
Well, my manager actually, because Patrick Topping had come to play at District last, I think in 2019, exactly the closing of 2019. So my manager, who is also the organizer of District, obviously got to know him through that. I kept in touch. My manager is also the tour manager of Dennis Sulta, Nick. So he's quite well connected, you know. I cannot complain there. So he sent the tracks to Topping. I remember in about, I think it was like November, and slowly we got to hear, I guess, with the EP. So.
You know, I think like once you get that kind of recognition, it can be very validating, you know, as an artist to know that someone like that is saying, yes, you know, you have it. Are there any other, you know, big labels like that, you know, you would love to release music on?
It's endless list. Like I'd love to release so much music. Like not only house music, not only techno, not only tech house, but I even make like a bit of jazzier things, indie things, which I'd love to release one day. Labels at the moment, my short term, like my goals, which I'd really like to get within the next 5 years, for example, is like Hot Creations. That's a massive label, which I'd love to sign for one day. There are loads, man. There are loads. Solid Grooves, Karuki. I think the list goes on. Shall not fail.
No, it's tough. It's tough. I know the kind of amount of artist-driven labels that are just like the things they're doing right now. And I think especially, you know, in the quarantine, there's been this massive influx of just like really high quality music. And I'm sure, you know, you're not alone in that feeling of like, all right, I finally have time to sit down in the studio. I'm not playing all the time. You know, whenever we can return, you know, I'm not sure exactly how it's going in Malta, but hopefully soon. I'm curious, you know, and again, I'm sure you're going to have a laundry list of answers to this, but do you have a dream back-to-back partner, you know, someone that you could just play back-to-back with for a couple hours?
The list goes on, you know. Why not? Like, obviously, like anyone, like Topping, you know, I'd love to play with like Jamie Jones, Martinez. I'd love to play with anyone, really. Yeah. It's like someone who really understands a certain sound. Like, it's always really fun. Like, there are many DJs in Malta who don't really produce music, but they're fantastic DJs who are real fun to play with. Like, I really enjoy playing back to back with someone who understands their their collection, their library of music, and they've dug and they've done the work, So I'd love to play back to back with anyone, really.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, I wanted to touch on kind of the Malta thing again, because I think, as you mentioned, it's like, sometimes you send your music to your friends there, like your manager is also, helping to run district. There's obviously a lot of people out there who are DJing, and I think, the list gets a little smaller when you're looking at people who are also producing. But do you feel, obviously, I'm sure you're friends with a lot of these guys, is it, a friendly competition on who can make it out? Do you feel like it's more kind of every man for himself, or what's the vibe like there?
With the guys who are producing, you mean?
Yeah, just,
all the DJs.
The DJs, the producers, who's going to get seen, who's not, who's doing it for fun.
I think, I don't think there are too many, there are not many people who produce in Malta, DJs. So I wouldn't say there's healthy competition maybe, but I wouldn't say there's any ill will towards anyone in the field, anyone who's producing sort of. With DJs as well, I wouldn't even say that there's competition there because I produce, because of who's going to get noticed. In Malta, there are some huge DJs in Malta, way bigger than I am, who don't produce and who never produced. It's very different in Malta, I think, especially with the scene as it is at the moment. But then there are these parties like District, who's sort of trying now to change the top three of the residents, me, AP, and Husko. We produce and we release on labels quite consistently. So District is the main party, I'd say, at the moment in Malta, who has people producing and putting out quality music quite often on big labels, sort of on bigger labels.
Nice, man. Well, listen, I got one more question for you, which is again something I like to ask everyone, and I know I have a feeling you're going to have a couple people you want to say, but when it comes to just producing, forget the live performance, but especially recently, with whatever you've been, kind of getting into in the studio, who do you feel like, and maybe just in the last couple months, has been influencing you, from a music perspective? And is there anyone that you find yourself listening to more kind of on repeat?
I'd say probably Jamie Jones's sound, definitely. I really enjoy looking through playlists, and I literally write, soul music rare, and I just go through a playlist of rare, so to be I would never hear the tracks for sure, and I really get a lot of inspiration there from certain sounds, like Afro disco as well. I search quite a bit. I really enjoy going through those to search for inspiration. But DJs wise, I'd definitely say Jamie Jones, Patrick Topping, the Martinez brothers. I love their groovy style, Yeah, the list goes on really, but I'd say those are the main ones.
That's awesome, man. Well, listen, thank you so much for coming in. The EP is out on April 16th, right?
That's it, man. Thank you for having me.
Three tracks on Trick Label. Ed is one to watch, man. I hope we can talk again soon, all right?
I hope so too, brother. Thank you.
All right, man. Have a good one.